Let's get into MTN, which, as we know, is one of the world's largest mobile phone companies, with businesses in Nigeria. That's very relevant for our discussion today. South Africa, Ghana, and Iran.
Those are the big markets. It's got well over 235 million customers. Remember, it is a little bit tricky, a little bit of a moving target because of these RICA laws. Sometimes they've had to deregister some clients, but in fact, if you look at it more generously, they've probably got close to 400 million customers who use those SIMs on an ongoing basis.
Market cap, we're sitting at 239 billion rand, price to earnings ratio of negative 71.
The numbers are a big mess because of the Nigerian fine.
And dividend yield of 8.5%.
Which also may not be sustained. But, looking historically and at the losses associated with that and the dividend payouts, it's all very confusing.
We were chatting earlier about the management team, and Phuthuma Nhleko and Stephen van Coller both at Davos, which is very interesting. Phuthuma sitting on one of our discussions on building Africa, and I was very impressed by his very smart, efficient communication style and his understanding of growth across Africa and what is needed.
Yeah, of course, he was sort of brought in as the fixer after the fine happened. But we were seeing a huge management shake-up in MTN. So we obviously get Rob Shuter coming in. We're thinking second quarter. It can be no later than the 1st of, I think it's 1st of July.
I think he's actually coming on the 13th of March.
Is it 13th of March?
13th of March.
So, okay, so, and I mean, he comes with a wealth of experience. I mean, head of Vodafone in the European Union as well. And I think, we've seen it, at all levels of management after the fine. I think shareholders, just were so disgruntled by what happened that they wanted to see some action, and the company took action. And it's really going to be for them how they can potentially turn the business around from here.
So then, of course, Stephen van Coller is VP of
investment banker.
Exactly, and coming from the Barclays or Absa Capital fold. In terms of
Rolf Mupita as well.
Rolf Mupita from Old Mutual. So
coming in
really
as CFO. Yeah.
A big profile in terms of management.
Almost
talent.
in a sense. Quite a few chiefs. I'm wondering how they're all going to sit in the same kraal together. I'm mixing my metaphors a little bit. But I think, let's look at the share price, because when I say this thing has been a train wreck, that's what it's felt like to own this thing. We were up above 240 plus. It was looking tremendous. It just absolutely got thrashed with that enormous fine. But to some extent, that's how markets and how capitalism works. As soon as the fine got quantified, it stabilized.
What did they settle on from a fine perspective?
I don't know, some $4 billion, 330 trillion naira. I don't even know what the number was.
So it was a multi-billion-dollar fine at the end of the day. We can go with that number.
Yeah.
I don't know how you view it, but to me it was almost as though the Nigerian state felt that MTN had been too profitable. And we know that that's the one issue. We know that there's also still an ongoing issue about whether or not the externalization of some of their dividend flows was done outside of the very strict and very cumbersome Nigerian forex rules.
Look, the Nigerian economy is not in a healthy state. We know technically they're in a recession, so we're not going to get any joy out of this economy in the short term. And I think that's very important and relevant for the discussion for MTN, because no matter who comes in from a management perspective, Nigeria is a large component of their business.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nigeria makes up about 35% of their revenue. So you can see it's a significant portion of the company. But at the same time, you do, I think, have Nigeria, moderating its stance as well. So we had a minister actually coming out yesterday and just saying that, they must not scare away MTN, because, if you're continually making the operating environment so difficult to create business in, MTN will go and look for benefit elsewhere. They'll have to.
In fact, Gary, let me add to that. Phuthuma Nhleko, again, executive chairman of MTN, saying that they invest around $4 billion annually on the African continent. If they get policy certainty in the territories that they operate, they're prepared to double that investment.
Absolutely. I mean, I saw some fantastic numbers, also just around the investment MTN has made in Nigeria and the difference that's made to the Nigerian economy over the last couple of years. But again, you're 100% right. The way that the market is reacting to the link between the Nigerian economy and MTN is the oil price. So every time the oil price moves up, and I mean, that does feed into Iran and Ghana territories as well. But the correlation between oil and MTN share prices is about 0.76 at the moment. So there's a massive correlation. Oil goes up, you see MTN stock price moving up. on the expectation that this will alleviate some of the conditions that you were talking about in Nigeria.
Well, talk to me as a shareholder who has held this one through thick and thin. As you say, it's been tough to see it go from that 240 level to where we are tracking right now.
And I think the way that the market has reacted is to significantly downscale the associated value or the assumed value of the Nigerian business, which used to be the crown jewel. Now it's not. Now, in some respects, South Africa is seen as where the juice has to come from, and Iran. We haven't mentioned that, but remember, sanctions were lifted. There is some concern that Trump might unwind some of those deals that Obama and Kerry did, but it seems unlikely because there are all sorts of international alliances there. So they're able to repatriate money now out of Iran, which is great because that's a very attractive market with a rising ARPU. So that's important.
Average revenue per user.
Yeah.
Mustn't talk about ARPUs for those people who don't understand the sector.
I think it's at an inflection point now. If we can just get the Nigerian authorities to see that that vision of a developed economy in Nigeria requires foreign investment and it requires telecommunications, more importantly, then we can make progress. And then all the other businesses, we're seeing the benefits of the transformation projects and the cost cutting and the aggressive capital spending, which is leading to high data sales.
I want to understand, though, those people whose portfolios you are running within the Vestact fold, how are they responding? Have you been getting phone calls saying, what is up with MTN? Should we continue holding
Yes, you definitely do. And when clients need money out of their portfolio, their minds always turn to saying, let's get rid of this dog. It's been a disappointment. But of course, when one is managing money, one of the key things you do is prevent clients from injuring themselves by doing things that are stupid to the portfolio. So our approach has been, be careful, be calm, keep calm and carry on, don't get out of this.
Gary, it looks as though you've been getting the same phone calls.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, we're very bullish on MTN, but we've actually removed the MTN from portfolios about
Have you already removed it?
It's about 2 years ago. So I mean, we managed to get it was still higher than where we are now, and really, I think maybe we're a little bit more active than Paul as well. But if we look at it, our 12-month target on MTN is around 134, 135. So we don't see enough upside in the next year. Again, you can't argue with, I think, the price per subscriber that you're paying. So if you look at the size of MTN compared to the size of Vodacom, I mean, it's 3.5 times the size, but you're sort of paying the equivalent in terms of market cap. So, I think there is, like Paul says, if the turnaround comes through, I mean, there's a massive opportunity in the stock, but there are significant risks here as well.
And you want to see more evidence of a turnaround in place.
I just want to see the turnaround. So the risk to us not holding is that turnaround takes place quicker than we expect. But if we look at the earnings numbers after 2017, 2018, I mean, we are seeing a slight recovery. But again, the dividend's going to be under pressure. They're going to have to maintain sort of the dividend guidance that they're giving. They're going to have to tap their balance sheet. Now, that's not really the kind of company that I want to be holding at the moment.
If they revise that dividend policy, it's going to put, that isn't priced into the stock at this stage.
I mean, you look at consensus expectations. The consensus are probably a little bit more optimistic than we are. So they're probably looking at about 140 12-month target on the stock. Again, not a significant re-rating higher. So, but you read a JP Morgan note, for example, and they're saying 12-month targets at around 120, and they're saying, I mean, while we've got earnings for 2017, we're expecting at least sort of a 5.50 Rand EPS. They're expecting naught. So they're seeing that this fine, remember, the fine still has to be paid, so the fine is being paid over 3 years. It's going to impact the company for a long time to come.
Hot or not?
Hot anyway.
Talking about a high level of conviction. Hot or not, Gary?
I think speculatively you probably could buy it if our view on the turnaround is wrong. But again, it's been picking up a lot of broker downgrades. We're still concerned about the ability to get funds out of some of the territories. I think if you're looking for an oil play, which this essentially is at the moment, if you look at the way the market's reaction, I think you'll probably do better in something like Sasol, because as the oil price moves up, you're not going to see that translate into earnings growth in MTN. So when if the oil price does recover to 70 and MTN share price goes out, when the earnings numbers come out, I think they're going to disappoint. So for me, not hot at this stage.
Let's talk about Vodacom.
Subject to change.
Subject to change.